Welcome, Jane. Thanks for coming to the Story Emporium.
Thanks for having me.
You drove a little bit of ways.
I did. An hour and 5 minutes to be exact.
Excellent. So you live in Massachusetts.
I do.
And you are a children's author.
I am.
And an author of how many books?
7.
Wow, that's a lot of books. Can you tell me the latest book you have?
Yes. Should I show it to you?
I'd like to see it, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My most recent book is called Don't Call Me Sidney.
And I won't call you Sidney.
Thank you. Here it is.
Oh, it's
a picture
beautiful.
book.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I love the illustrations. Are you the illustrator?
No.
No, you do not illustrate.
I do not illustrate.
But you're a wonderful author.
Well, thank you.
What is Don't Call Me Sidney about?
Don't Call Me Sidney is about Sidney, who writes a poem for his best friend, Gaby, and it's very well received, so he decides that he wants to be a poet. And it was a rhyming poem. And he realizes that he can't find a good rhyme for Sidney except for kidney.
Oh.
So he changes his name to the more rhymable Joe. But he's very absent-minded, so he keeps forgetting that he changed his name. So when the phone rings and people ask for Joe, he says, "There's no Joe here. This Joe seems to have a lot of friends." And then eventually he remembers, but then his mother visits and she's very upset that he changed his name. And she says, "But you're named after your great-great-great-grandfather who invented the mop." And his friends don't like the change, so he has a very sleepless night and eventually comes up with a compromise. I don't know if I should tell you the end.
I wouldn't tell me the ending because
Spoiler
I do want to read that book. I still have yet to read that book.
It would ruin the end, but it's a crowd-pleasing compromise, and it kind of has a subtle lesson.
It's a beautiful, beautiful cover.
Yeah, well, the illustrator is named Renata Gallio, and she lives in Italy, and she's Italian. It's her first American book.
Wow, that must be exciting for her. Have you ever met the illustrator?
Never.
So have you ever you've spoken by email?
Just once after it was all done. I told her how much I love the illustrations and how it's very hard when I finish a story and the characters have lived in my mind to kind of give it to someone else. It's like leaving my child with a babysitter for the first time.
Right.
So I was very pleased with what she did with it.
Did you see Sidney in your head as a different character? When you met her, Sidney, were you like, "That's not my Sidney"?
I didn't know Sidney would be a pig.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't mention what kind of animal he is in the text.
Oh, so that must have been so strange for you to see Sidney as a pig. What did you see Sidney as?
Well, originally he was a monkey.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he turned out to be a pig, so that was a surprise for you.
It was. Yeah.
So when was that published?
2010 by Dial.
Dial
which is
Books.
A division of Penguin.
Penguin Books.
Yeah.
Nice. So can you tell me a little bit about the author, about Jane Sutton yourself? What about you? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up on Long Island, and I always liked to write, even when I was little.
So did you always know? So you always had the gut feeling you were going to be an author, or?
Well, no, I didn't know that, but I always liked to write. When the teacher would give assignments, like use all the spelling words in a story, I always enjoyed it, and I would write a lot. And the teacher would often have me show it to another teacher because I would write things like a criticism of humanity on behalf of the ducks and things like that.
They must have got a kick out of those.
Yeah.
Did they? So you were their star writer.
Well, kind of.
So have you ever been contacted by one of those teachers? One of your old teachers?
Yes,
really?
I'm in touch with one of my old teachers, and I always send her my new books, and she really gets a kick out of it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
and one of my books, actually, my young adult book, which I didn't bring today, I dedicated to my 7th grade teacher.
She must have been touched. She or he?
It was a he.
It was a he. Sorry
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
You never know?
Yeah, you never know.
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
he got a kick out of it.
So when you were younger, did you have heroes? Did you look up to certain people?
Yes.
And who were they?
Well, in high school, I had an alter identity. I was Diana Ross.
You were? Really?
Yes.
Wow, did you go in the closet, change into her and come out? Or?
No, but I would just kind of talk like Diana Ross. And I was one of the editors of the school newspaper. And on April Fool's, one of the articles revealed that I was actually Diana Ross. There was a picture of me posing with what was supposed to be a microphone, but it was actually a hairdryer. So
you were a goofy child.
yeah, I was elected class comedian in my senior year.
I am not surprised. You're still very charismatic today.
Charismatic.
Charismatic.
Thank you.
Is that a
I
good
would
word?
get that a lot.
Well, that is who the Jane Sutton I see today is very charismatic.
Thank you.
That you're a joy to be around,
Thank you.
I have to say. So your greatest influences
You're not so bad yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. I try. I try. So you knew you wanted to be a writer, obviously, because you were so good at it. It came naturally. And you wanted to be Diana Ross, right?
I did.
So, but you didn't become Diana Ross. Instead, you became a very wonderful writer with seven books under your belt right now, or more. How many books?
7 published.
7 published.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
there's a contract underway for the 8th.
Wow. So you must be very, very proud.
Well, I don't know. I'm proud, but I'm
don't-
happy about it.
Well, why do you write? Like, what drives you to write?
I love words, and I love to communicate with people, and I like to create things. I always have.
So it's your calling, definitely.
I guess so.
So have you ever wanted to be anything else?
Yes, a rock star.
Well, I mean, besides the rock star, did you ever want to
I
did you ever
am
want
in
to go
my
to
own
go to
mind,
school and
actually.
say I want to be a doctor, and then say I'll be a writer instead? Or
Oh no. There's blood involved.
yeah, it's nasty. At least we can write about blood, right? You don't have to actually touch it.
Right.
Operate on people.
Right.
So you basically always wanted to be a writer.
I guess so.
It's in you. So you're a natural. So you write because you feel like you have to? I'm not quite clear on that answer.
I write because I love to write.
There you go.
I guess that's the reason.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
And you have are you working on another project right now that nobody knows about? Shh. We're on camera, but shh. Does anybody know about it?
Yeah, I'm working on a sequel actually to one of my books. I'll show you this one. Now the one I just showed you was a picture book, but this one, Me and the Weirdos,
Oh.
has been my most popular book.
That's beautiful.
And it's sold like, I think like 90,000 copies or something.
Wow, that's great.
And it seems to have a universal theme. The girl is embarrassed by her unusual family. So, and it was, I don't know if I brought the paper back, but it's been translated into French, and this is kind of cool because I like to see what different illustrators do with the same book. So here it is in French.
So
Connaissez-vous ma famille, which means
So
do
that's
you
the
know
same
my
book?
family? Yes.
So that's interesting. How come
Yeah.
they wouldn't have the same illustrations, just different?
I don't
different
know.
text?
I don't know. But
Wow.
it's very different. So, and the paperback was different too. I guess I didn't bring that one.
So there's 2 versions of that. There's a French and an English.
Yeah, and a paperback. And it was in some anthology as well. So I've always wanted to do a sequel of it, and I've been working on that.
And does the publisher, who published that one?
Houghton Mifflin.
And do they know that you're working on a sequel? Did they ask you? Or?
I guess they do now.
Surprise, right? So you seem to be very funny and quirky, and I ask all my authors this, and you are now dubbed my author because you're in the author clubhouse, by the way. So
Thank
you are one of
you.
my authors.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. When you write, do you have any quirks? Do you know what I mean by quirks?
Yes, I think I do.
Excellent.
Well, one thing I do is I write when I know that when I write, I'm going to do a lot of rewriting because I think that's what one has to do. So I usually start out writing on the backs of like flyers that you get in
great.
the mailbox or in the mail. So I brought these along to show you.
Oh, cool. What do you got
and
written
then
on
I
them?
just
Anything?
write on the nothing.
Oh,
But
okay.
I just write on the back, and that's just what I do. And I feel that
So instead of
I have
napkins, you
saved
grab-
several forests.
I was going to say, so that's a really green thing for you to do.
Yes,
Because,
quite green.
So you don't carry around a writer's notebook then?
No, I just have kind of scraps of paper. Often I get my best ideas in the shower.
That could be hard with paper.
It is, and then when I get out, I forget.
You don't have a, some
But I don't want
people
to
I know
talk
take,
about that anymore. It's too tragic.
I apologize, you're a funny woman.
It's really not funny.
You have all these great books with these, I'm sure they have great characters in them. I'm interested to know, how do you develop those characters?
I'm not sure what you mean by develop.
Okay, I will give you a clue as to how I develop characters.
Okay.
I-
Who's doing the interviewing?
I'm just saying, I'm giving you an example.
Okay.
I go as far as, you're great. I go as far as making character files for each one and, writing their quirks, I really go into depth and interview each character. Do you go that deep? When you write like a
No, I'm
picture
aware
book.
that they're not real, Erin.
Oh, that's unfortunate, because sometimes they really are.
Okay. I kind of I know what you mean. Yes. I don't have files, but I do have a list of the characters and traits and how I'm going to show that, because I want to make sure my reader understands what my character is like.
Right.
So I make sure that there are examples in their behavior of how they, to show what their personality is like and
Right.
what's important to them.
Okay, so you do develop your characters.
Absolutely. And I also, if, for instance, in a longer book, I want to make sure the reader can remember who's who, because sometimes it's hard. So I'll give them a physical quirk, I guess you could say, to remind the reader. Like, one character always wore a baseball cap. So once in a while, that character will toss his cap in the air, adjust it, etc., get a new one. So the reader can keep track, like, oh yeah, that's the one who wears the baseball cap.
Right. Some people even some writers go as far as to keep trinkets of the characters on their desk. Maybe it would be their baseball cap. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have trinkets around your desk when you're writing? Like that would belong to a character?
That's kind of a personal question, but...
Can you please tell me?
No, I don't keep trinkets of any kind.
No trinkets?
No.
Okay.
I find it abhorrent.
Could you tell me can you tell me, if you were to keep trinkets, where would you keep them? Where do you write?
I usually write at my dining room table, because I like looking out at the yard, and often if it's warm outside, like on the patio.
Okay.
Because I don't start writing on the computer, obviously, because I'm writing on scrap paper. So that's what I do.
So you grab the nearest flyer and just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. So if you're looking out into your backyard,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a scenic backyard?
Yes.
Is there kids playing? What's back there? I want to know.
Well, there's kind of an open space and then trees. So it's peaceful. Very
Okay,
nice.
so it's peaceful.
Flowers.
Do you garden?
No, that's why I'm married. My husband does.
Does your husband do everything else? I did meet him. He's a very nice man.
He is.
And how many years have you been married
for? You said there would be no math.
I'm sorry.
36 years.
That's a lot of math right there. 36 years, wow.
Yeah, and we knew each other for 4 or 5 before then.
Wow.
So
he's put up with you for a long time.
he has.
We have to give him a medal.
Really, really sweet.
So writing is your job? You don't have another side job?
Oh, I tutor writing as well.
Oh, that's nice. Where do you tutor?
I tutor at a college in Boston, and then I have some private students. And I'm teaching adults writing in a like a community education class.
Oh, that's neat. And then you can come teach at the Story Emporium soon.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's another opening.
Yeah,
phrase.
sometimes I go into schools too as like a guest author, and I talk about my books and how I write, the process. I make sure to bring a lot of messy drafts to show that
They love
one needs to revise.
Yeah, there's nothing like looking at a messy draft because everybody thinks that authors can just sit down and linear type from the first word to the finish, the finished novel. You just type the whole thing. They sit down in a movie, chapter 1, like they go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen, right?
Not at all.
How does it happen for you?
Well, the hardest thing is that blank page, I think. It's kind of the enemy.
Yes.
So I once read a quote, someone described it as that white page staring at you with its evil white eyes. But if you keep in mind that you're going to go back and do a lot of changes, it's very freeing. So just get something written down and then go back and change it.
Right, it helps
in a million ways.
It helps to just write, don't think about it. Think about where you're going and keep the editor out of your head.
Yes. Yes.
The editor is a bad man or woman, whatever it is to you, but it's a bad one.
Yeah, because if you think it has to be perfect the first time, it can be very scary.
And then you know what happens? The page stays white.
That's right.
And it glares. And it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. So I actually love rewriting. I love going back and changing words here and there, and crossing things out and changing the order. And it's kind of like a big puzzle, try to make it as good as it can be.
That's a good way to look at it because myself, I don't like the editing part. Really?
I
like the free writing and just crazy stuff. But then you got to go back in. It seems so time consuming. But if I look at it as a puzzle, that's a great tip.
Okay.
See, you came all the way here just to give me that tip.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
free.
You charge me for the next one. So you've got all these books under your belt. You've done phenomenal. Where do you want to go from here? Do you have a goal? Do you want to be a superstar? I mean,
yeah, I'd like to be a household name.
Okay.
Not like Drano, but
I was going to say, okay, yeah, you don't want to be Drano. Drano's not good.
It's useful.
It's very useful, but it's very bad.
But yeah, I'd like to write a lot more books and sell a lot more books and keep going for sure.
So did you ever think about illustrating?
No.
Why not?
Because I just am not very good at it, and I suppose if I took many, many lessons, I could improve, but I'd rather
but you just don't want to.
stay with the writing. I illustrate for like at holidays, birthdays and stuff, as the designated writer. I do very elaborate cards for my relatives with like basically a long story of highlighting their idiosyncrasies, and there's a lot of humor. So I illustrate those, but my children tend to laugh at my illustrations.
That must hurt.
And say that they're like, Mom, the arm is like 6 feet long. But then they kind of admit that they're charmingly childlike.
You did tell me about a little something you were doing for your family. Would you care to elaborate on that, a little project, or no? You don't have to?
That, no, because it's going to be a surprise.
Okay,
but
so
I have done various plays and movies, actually, for my kids. Both got 18th birthday videos. And
how did you do those?
Well, I secretly went and videotaped their friends doing skits, and they reenacted certain legends in the family, and then we totally surprised them.
So you're a fun mom.
Well, I like to think so.
How many do you
I
have?
can be an embarrassing mom.
I could imagine.
Probably why I wrote that Me and the Weirdos book.
So that's your kids talking about your weirdo family. You being the weirdo mother.
It could be, yeah. But I always tell them it's good for their character.
That's what my mother told me growing up. It's good
Yeah?
for your character. Suck it up. It's good for your character. All the time. Now I have plenty of characters. So, how many children do you have?
2.
Boys, girls?
I have a daughter, Becky, and a son, Charlie.
Son Charlie. I like that name. It's a very prominent name.
Yeah. They're great.
Are they great?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes or all the time?
All the time.
And how old are they?
30 and 26.
College?
Yeah, they're all done.
They're
Well,
all done?
actually, they both started grad school recently.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you have some pretty busy kids, some smart kids. Sounds like you did a good job.
yeah. Well, maybe in spite of me.
Very good. Touche. So there is something that I'd like to ask all my visitors here at the Story Emporium.
Feel free. My life is an open book.
Well, it's going to be,
So to
well, then
speak.
this might be a hard one then, because I want a secret from you that you've never told anybody, exclusive to the Story Emporium. You couldn't have told anybody, so take your time if you need to think, because it has to be exclusive.
Okay. Just give me a minute.
Okay, I'll give you a minute.
You're going to
Time's
play
up.
the
Time's
Jeopardy
up.
music?
Down, down, down.
All right, well, okay. As I go through my day, just normal life, and I just see people, I'm always trying to imagine what it would be like to be them. So, for instance, when I go to my job in Boston, I take the bus and the T, and I see the bus driver, and I think, what would it like to be the bus driver? And I go through all the kind of experiences they might have and skills and what might be annoying to them and what might be fun and what might be stressful. And then if I buy groceries, I do the same with the cashier and the bagger and the person who puts the carts away, so I just kind of go around imagining that I'm in.
Next time you go to the grocery store, you know you're going to get funny looks now. They're going to be, she's thinking about me right now. It's going to be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and sometimes I get, I daydream in that way. So.
Well, there's another word for that, It's called people watching.
Yeah.
So you do people watching.
Oh, yes.
That is my favorite pastime.
Yeah?
Where have you done your best people watching?
As you're asking me that, I'm remembering when I was a kid, my mom and I would go into New York and wait for my dad to come out of the office. And he was an advertising writer and creative director, and he would always be late. So he'd tell us to come, and then we'd sit in the car. And as we'd sit in the car, we would watch people, and there were people watching in sidewalks in New York. I don't think it gets any better than that.
No.
And my mom and I would make up, actually, scenarios about the people. Like, where do you think she's going? What's he thinking
And that's
about?
probably where a lot of your writing came from.
Yeah, probably.
But people watching it's definitely my favorite pastime.
All right.
Should we tell the audience what people watching is? Because they may not know. Is it a writer's secret?
Yes.
I don't think everyday people do that. People watching is, in essence, you sit down and you watch what people do. A lot of writers will take their notebooks and they'll break down people's characteristics and
Oh, yeah, that's actually an assignment I give to my class about how to write. Just observe what people do and
yeah.
and what they say. I have them recreate dialogue that they listen to.
Right. Sometimes you
that they
eavesdrop when you people
overhear.
watch. You're supposed to eavesdrop.
Notice the gestures too and how they talk. And
Because when you eavesdrop, it's no longer very strict dialogue. It's people have slang and you pick things up.
yes, and they
Not that us
interrupt.
authors would ever eavesdrop. We would never ever do that.
That would be rude.
That would be wicked rude.
I can't believe you even brought that up.
I know, that's terrible. So I digress, and I'll rewind it a little bit.
No, I digress.
It's such a big author word.
I love to say that.
Do you? Do you like to say other big words?
My favorite word lately is the word ESCHEW, which I always
Eschew?
thought was eschew, which means to shun or to stay away from. But I looked it up, and the preferred pronunciation is eschew.
Eschew.
So
You want to say God bless you?
eschew.
Eschew.
That's true, you do. But I try to incorporate that in most of my conversation now.
Do you use big words in your books? On purpose?
I don't use too many big words.
Okay.
I want children to understand
Yeah.
them without struggling.
Yeah, that's
To
important.
enjoy
That
them.
is important. So Jane, you have a whole pile of books over there. I want to see what you haven't shown us yet.
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
Okay. So this is a novel for like 7 to 11-year-olds called Confessions of an Orange Octopus.
Cool name.
This is the same book in French.
Well, you do that a lot, don't you?
I seem to. And it's called Le Gang des Râleurs. And I say that because I get to roll my R's.
Do you speak French?
It means...
Can you read that book fluent? Can you read that book fluently?
No, not fluently, but a lot. And I like French, and I'm in a French conversation group because I like it so much. When I was a kid, I pretended I was French.
Was it fun?
Je n'y sutton, I called myself.
And what does
I
that
had
mean?
a rich fantasy life.
You did.
It means Jane Sutton in French.
Oh.
Je n'y sutton.
Oh, I see.
See.
I hear. I don't
Yeah.
see. I hear.
I wore a beret and everything.
You must have been a cool
So-
kid. Anyway, go ahead.
So that means the complaining club, because the kids in this book get together and complain about annoying things that grown-ups do.
Oh, they're going to say annoying things like grown-ups.
Well, yeah. And then, let's see. This is also for kids in middle grades, 7 to 11, not even Mrs. Mazursky. And here's the same book with by the Weekly Reader Books Club, so they had a different illustrator.
So is it two publishers? Two whole different publishers? Or?
Well, it's the same on the inside. It's kind of two publishers. Yeah, this is E.P. Dutton in New York, and this is the Weekly Reader Books version. It's kind of like having a paperback.
Oh, I see.
And this was my very first book, What Should a Hippo Wear? A picture book.
That's a beautiful book. I read that as a child.
Oh,
It was one of my
that's so
favorites.
nice.
I remember that one.
It's awesome. And then this was the one right before Don't Call Me Sidney, which is The Trouble with Cauliflower.
So that's your second to your latest book.
Yes,
And what's-
second to last book.
What is this one about? It looks interesting.
Well, Mortimer, who is a koala bear, thinks that when he eats cauliflower, he has bad luck the next day. And there are various funny things that happen. And it's kind of a gentle lesson about superstition and self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's
And
very
I
interesting.
really love the illustrations in this book as well.
It is a very good illustrator.
Yeah.
Now, do you get to? I know I asked you this earlier, but how does the illustrator and the author work together on a book?
Well, we don't actually. The publisher picks an artist whose style would be a good match for the story, and then it's all done separately. For instance, I thought that Mortimer would be a monkey, and he's a koala bear. So I never knew that before I got started in children's books, and most people don't. They think the author and illustrator work together. And sometimes there are teams, but usually it's a separate process. And one of the reasons is that then the illustrator can look at the story with a fresh eye without the author saying, oh, you should do this and do that.
So that's great. Congratulations on everything you've done.
Thank you so much.
And because you're such a prominent author, I would love for you to sign my guest book. Could you do that?
Oh, I would love
It's my
to.
Author Clubhouse guest
Absolutely.
guest book.
I've really enjoyed visiting you here.
And everybody that visits signs, gives me a little message. How was
All
your
right.
visit?
Okay.
Try to be nice. Don't hurt my feelings.
No, I wouldn't
Okay,
do
that would be
that.
great. And while you sign that, I'm just going to let my guests know, my TV viewer audience know, that next week, please join us, and we'll be interviewing Joan Creamer next week. And if there's an illustrator or an author that you'd like to see here at the Story Emporium, please visit our website. It's thestoryemporium.org. You can send us an email, let us know who you'd like to come, and we'll do our best to get them here. Because at the Story Emporium, all characters are welcome.